Oh my, what is open house all about? That is a really good question. We've done open house for, I think, like a decade or more now. And originally what it was about is we realized that we didn't really have a culminative activity where students could share all that they had learned. So we wanted a chance for that to happen, for parents to be able to come in, see what you guys learned, because as teachers, we get to see that all the time. But parents don't always get to see your work. So that's kind of how it started. When we review open house every year, we ask students like, what went well? What would you like to see different? There was always one thing that they wanted to see different, and that was that they didn't get a chance to see each other's work. Like, students were always like, they were so busy doing their own stuff, they felt like they missed out on everyone's presentations. So the unexpected gift this year is that we were able to say, okay, you're going to get to see each other's work. It was so amazing when we had students walk around and look at the book art or the art in different classrooms, that they were looking closely, they were engaging in it, they were asking questions, they were saying like, wow, who did that? I love that piece, or I want to read that book, or they should take photographs more. That was really great because we never done it before, so we didn't know how that was gonna go.
What was the hardest part about building the bridge? Lining up all the popsicle sticks so that they fit, and then putting the paper clips to clamp them down.
The hardest part building the bridge was making the paste for it, because that's a lot of work.
The smaller popsicle sticks were a bit wider than the normal size popsicle sticks, so they would have a bit more strength that way, and they're also shorter, so there'd be less flexing that way.
I don't know, I just started kind of like drawing some curves and ways to support it, so that, yeah.
It did hold up more than I thought it would.
I think the bridge held up more than we thought it would have. We had no faith in our skills or bridge, so.
If I were to change anything about my bridge, I would use normal size popsicle sticks for my trusses.
If we did it again, I think I would make sure that the arches were like lined up straight. The next class that does this project, I would tell them, have an efficient system for making your paste.
Miss Denton wanted us to make a Renaissance object, something from the Renaissance. We're inspired by it, so an invention like Da Vinci or some kind of painting like Michelangelo. And so I chose a somewhat silly idea of a cane because Joseph kept on walking around with one. Yeah.
What inspired my art was Miss Denton had introduced us to different writing and art techniques, and she had introduced us to this one that Leonardo da Vinci did, and he wrote backwards in a mirror, so it's called mirror writing, and I wanted to try that out, so that's what kind of influenced my writing. And then Kayla told me a quote that I liked, and I wanted to kind of do that, and then I just wanted to draw.
I was thinking how bad this was gonna look in terms of drawing. I'm not a good artist, I'm very bad at drawing things with pencils or painting or any sort of that stuff. So I was thinking about how bad it was gonna be, yeah.
I was kind of just thinking I wanted to experiment and try new things out and kind of just put stuff on a page and do art.
Does my art have a deeper meaning? No.
My art does not. My quote, I'd like to say that, you don't need a hand to hold. You don't need to always depend on people. It's good to rely on people and have people by your side, but you can do more than you let yourself believe. You're strong and you can do it.
I learned that with enough evidence and with anything, you can find the correlation value and use it in future life. What surprised me was when I searched up how much money it was $20, and I realized that back then the money was smaller, but the value was greater, so I had to kind of flip it. My advice for them is to definitely take your time, pace it out, and find little things to help you and to ask questions.
Over Christmas break, I played Three Flags Up. Is that what it's called? Something like that, where you're catching the football. I was like, hey, this would be fun if there were more and more people on either side of the game. Personally, I love the intense pace of the game. I think it's a really fast game. You could learn a lot from it. Just planning, you have to like have good connections with your teammates and make quick decisions. Personally, it was working with 4 other people because I kind of wanted the game to go one way and the 4 other people wanted the game to go another way. So it was mostly about trying to find a common ground where we could all relate. I don't really like the snow angel part, so when you drop the ball, you'd have to hand it over to someone else and do a snow angel. I thought the snow angel part was a bit unnecessary and a bit time consuming. I think you could just stand still. There's really not going to be a assigned leader for you. I think Mr. Lee made it clear that you should all be working together. If you do happen to be in a role of being a leader, I think it's best if you just learn how to communicate with others and learn how to put together a fun, fast-paced game. Personally, I liked my game. Football games are fun, but try to make a dodgeball game, because that way next year I can come back and play the dodgeball game. The dodgeball games are the best.
I don't know, probably making it and getting like the stuff and making the slime and then the little things that went inside of it.
Yeah, it was kind of cool making all the parts with different types of objects we could find, especially the slime and Haley's hat. I'd say probably the membrane, because we had to make it with clay and stuff.
Yes.
Of course we had fun.
We had fun making
We were
the slime.
together. Our whole group was fun and dynamically
We made
good.
little tiny hats. Yeah, it was fun.
We enjoyed it a lot.
Probably paraphrasing, thinking of it in my own words, and trying to find my own interpretation of it.
Well, there wasn't really many hard parts. I mean, I had to like pick the verses that I thought were short, but you know, I just wanted it to be easy. I guess that's the hardest part, just choosing the verses I wanted to do.
I'd say personally, coming up with so many ideas because I had a lot of strange things to add, so having to narrow it down to make it like me.
No, I thought about them a lot more because I was actually doing it in my own words, but no.
Not really. A lot of them are pretty borderline, like what you hear every day from like a religious teacher, or, you know, nothing too crazy, I guess.
No, I didn't struggle with the concepts really, because even if I did, I could just rewrite it with something else because I had so many ideas coming into it.
Yes, I was actually rewriting it in my own words, so it definitely made me realize how I understood them.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I do have a better understanding, you know. I liked a lot of the principles of those chapters, but besides that, yeah.
Yeah, they made me understand these few chapters more because, you know, it was funny and it made sense and it flowed more than the actual Bible itself. No hate to the Bible, but like, you know. To go down this path with the modern references, because it's relevant and more people would get it, and it makes sense, you know. You gotta choose the environment, and I just saw it and I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
No, not really. It was kind of easy, you know. Probably my favorite project since it didn't take much time. It just came kind of naturally.
Oh yeah, that you should all read mine. It's probably the best representation of these verses that has ever been conducted in the history of mankind. No arrogance, but it's definitely worth a read. Definitely. I have many more ideas. I could rewrite the whole Bible if I really wanted to. So yeah. Thank you.
Let's see. What inspired my artwork would probably be my love for medieval ships and the ocean and the moon, and I just incorporated them all together into one piece. Yeah, that's probably my biggest inspiration. Let's see. My main challenge was probably time. We were given a lot of it, but I think I procrastinated a little too much at the beginning of the project, so then I had to do some late night rush time. That was probably the biggest. No, I wouldn't really change anything. I really like the design of my project. If I could have one thing different, would be to be able to work with different colors. On the website that we used, there was only specific colors, so we couldn't really do like different like colors, so I had to choose some basic ones. The two people that were dying in the water were actually my quadratic formulas. I needed at least two of them, so they were what put my project all together. No, as long as we're clear that the people were saved in the end.
I chose this memorial that I specifically because when I researched it up, like all the memorials really had something that like it was like a big memorial, and like it actually like it felt like it was a good memorial and people would remember it. So when I looked at the Trail of Tears memorial, there was two like slabs of brick which had names on it, I think, and then a big map, and it was in a park, and I was like, that for how many lives were lost, it should have had a bigger memorial in my opinion, because it was such a sad event. So yeah, I chose to make that. I knew about how many lives were lost. Like I never really paid attention to it. I was like, oh yeah, the Trail of Tears, that's like a lot of lives were lost. But when I was researching, I found out how many lives were lost, and it really like took me by surprise because it was a lot. No, I wish I could make it a real memorial just so people would understand, because I feel like our history book is the only memorial we actually have.
I mean, like it was good, but like especially for like a Spanish like teaching class. But as for like a normal read, I wouldn't say it's like that good of a book in general. So there wasn't any specific thing that actually inspired our telenovela. It was just about like a girl who got lost in Mexico and I don't know, found a guy but never actually date, and then they just wrote letters to each other. And she kind of just left him on red and went off with her friend to Mexico again after she came back from America. So, yeah. The longest thing that took us in the entirety of the video making process was probably either the script or just planning all the choreography of the scene out. Yes, I have, because at my house, we speak Spanish, or at least try to speak Spanish most of the time. So I do have that part of expertise behind me. Also in Spanish 1, because currently I'm a junior in Spanish too. I've done a telenovela before, so this is kind of more or less of a repeat, more and somewhat of a refresher as to this kind of skill of Spanish speaking with no scripts and drama and whatnot.
I'd say the hardest part was trying to figure out mainly the body and the wheels in terms of like what to use. I used styrofoam and wood, and I first tried to use the styrofoam and it didn't really work constructually, but it ended up when I mixed some wood with it and stuff like that as some of the sturdier parts, because the styrofoam kept on breaking, it worked out pretty well. So I guess just trying to figure out the body was the hardest part. I think the longest part of my car that took to fine tune was, I think, figuring out the arm and getting that right, because I had it like adjusted and tilted to the side a bunch, and it like kind of was like all floppy and stuff like that, and there's a lot of wasted energy, and I just kind of spent a good amount of time trying to figure out how to wrap that right to the mousetrap lever thing. The car performed exactly what I was trying to get it to, which was just to get the distance that we had to. So I got that, I think, twice as much as that. So, I mean, yeah. I'd say just take a good amount of time on designing. It makes it so much easier. If you take time looking at how it like will functionally work really well, just makes it all easier to build, and you can have more of margin for error.
So I feel for open house, honors is always fairly unique. I think it's unique in that the classroom, we try to set it up like an art exhibit where there is a theme or a subject, and students are not only sharing their art, but deciding how they want to display their art and represent their art. And then with little plaques where they've given the title and either the impetus for their design or engaging in questions to have you look closer. So I've always felt like it's art that really pushes students and audience to reflect on bigger ideas. And this year it just happened to be dystopias and the what ifs. Like, what if the world goes in this way? What if we don't do something about this? Was kind of the brainstorm for their ideas, or even just an art piece inspired by what they read. But it's also like, it does push the boundaries, but I think in a very good way, in a very safe way, in a way where you have people that are respecting your decisions and your choices, and asking you questions about it. So I feel like it's really kind of safe and healthy way to explore some really difficult ideas and difficult subjects.
I think the hardest part was just, I guess, editing it. I mean, that was basically all I had to do. The rest of the group did most of the acting. Favorite part, I'd have to say, probably when they sent me the low quality. It's under 1440p. I know that much. And the audio only played in 1 year when I put on my headphones. It was a terrible audio file, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just made a really bad edit of it. Yeah, I would probably do better editing. I was gonna do something with the green screen, but they didn't agree to it because we're kind of on a time crunch, but yeah. The lore, everyone there is basically either wanting Doritos or grieving over the fact that they don't have Doritos.
I don't know. I like different types of art. I like videography. I like music, but photography interests me because I wanted to learn a little bit more about it. So I guess that's what drew me to it. Like other arts, I like expressing myself through being able to show other people like the way I feel about something through my eyes. I think photography is a great way of showing it. The inspiration behind some of my photos are, I just thought it was a cool moment, and thing about photography is you can recreate that moment through a picture. It's not exactly the same, but you get to show other people how it was in that same exact moment, and it will never be the same ever. Not really, just I hope you enjoy it. If there's anything I could like do better through the photography, like criticism's really good, because I know what I could do better and what ways I can improve on it.
When I was making it, my book was kind of about how a girl wasn't able to have human connection because of a destructive power that she had. So I was trying to illustrate that any time of the day with the hourglass, that human connection and touch is really important for us. We actually need 8 hugs a day, but we only get on average 1 to 2, which is sad. Probably the hands, because whoever drew those hands is a very talented artist, and I am glad that they put their artwork out there so that I could print it and trace it and make my paper look pretty. No, I don't think so. I'm pretty proud of the composition of my art piece. I guess maybe I would take more time coloring it, but other than that, I like how the picture flows.
The new view that my artwork illustrates, I would say, is probably just the character in the book, having a new view on life after he escaped from North Korea and moved to South Korea with his dad, which was a very dark story, but it was fun to draw. I would say my favorite part of my art is probably the memories that are in the corners, just because it gives like some perspective of what the main character depicted in the middle has gone through, which I found the most difficult to perceive in my art, mainly because people were confusing it for other things. Yeah, I would change how those memories like fade into the picture. I'd probably add a bit of a white border to them to make them stand out from the rest of the picture, but other than that, I really like how it turned out.
The new view that my artwork illustrates is the power dynamics and difference between the 2 main characters in the book that I read, Paul, the main character, and his father, Duke Leto. I think my favorite part of my art is all the symbols and metaphors that I use, because it took me a really long time to think about them and figure them out, and then trying to fit that all into one piece of artwork was really challenging, but I'm satisfied with the way it turned out. I think I would change part of the background. I wanted the background to be a little darker, but because I was short on time, I didn't get to do that part. So if I had to redo it, I would definitely make the background darker. Nothing much. I hope you liked it.
I don't know if my artwork illustrates any new views, but I think it is a reflection of the book Brave New World. It has the Master of Puppets hands in there, the Puppet Master hands, and that kind of illustrates the authoritarian government controlling the whole populace. I think there's like some pink lightning in it that I like the most. Yeah, I think I would not use Crayola markers. I would go for some like actual like neon ones. I think that'd be cool.
Sometimes I know there's been a question about why share learning through art. And this is not just me, the art teacher, saying this, but I feel like when you represent your ideas through art, you're using perspective and metaphor and a different kind of thinking and a different kind of understanding that goes deeper. And when you combine that with writing, I think it just escalates the level of learning. So rather than art being seen as like an elementary way of dealing with how you learn, I actually feel like it's the highest way to show how you learn. So do more art.